this wasn't that long ago. I went on a road trip to my family for a small reunion because the family was starting to break apart again. I was far away from all of them, so it was obviously going to be a long ride. After about a day of driving and stopping at gas stations, I needed sleep. Obviously, you shouldn't drive when you're tired. I pulled into a motel, which seemed normal at first. There weren't many people there, only a few workers and a couple. Despite all the weird things that had happened in my past, motels weren't that scary, and I knew everything that happened at them was only in horror movies, not real life. But I still felt slightly on edge. I went to the front desk, I got my room, and brought my bags. I'd only have to stay there for a night. The room was cozy and had nice lighting, the type that comforts you. I got to sleep fine, but at 2 a.m. I woke up. A weird feeling washed over me, and I felt very uncomfortable. I figured getting up and getting a drink or something could help me calm down a little. There was a coffee and tea machine in my room and a cup, so I made myself warm tea. I drank the tea and then attempted to go back to sleep. Probably 5 minutes after I closed my eyes, the phone you used to call the front desk went off. I knew it was best not to answer, but I was too scared and wanted to know why I was being called. I picked up the phone and just heard a faint buzz, like the sound you hear when a TV signal is cutting out and it makes that glitching noise. I ran to the reception area, opened the door, and realized nobody was there. Not the receptionist or any of the workers. Again, just a faint buzz and a radio going off in the back room of the reception. Not like a walkie-talkie. It was the type of radio that plays music. Keep in mind, this wasn't in the 90s or before. This was recently. It was classical music playing on the radio. In a way, this wasn't really that weird. Maybe I got a prank call, and the receptionist was actually just sleeping or something, and all the workers were too. That thought kind of comforted me a little more. I turned around, and a man was there. The man was tall, above 6 feet definitely. "What do you need?" the man said. I told him about the call. He said it was a regular occurrence, and that it only happens to people that deserve it. Deserve what? I didn't ask. I didn't want to drag the conversation on for any longer than it already was. I walked back to my room. During the rest of the night, the phone kept going off. It didn't stop at all. I got up again and went outside, when I noticed the man standing outside my window, but with his back turned towards it. "What are you doing?" I asked him. He told me he just wanted some air. I went and got a drink from the vending machines. I walked back and realized the man was gone, but my door was wide open. I went back in and got into bed, closing and locking my door. Yes, I did just ignore my door being wide open. I was too tired and just couldn't be bothered with anything else. I woke up again after sleeping for probably about an hour to the sound of my doors knocking. Not just my front door, but my bathroom door as well. My door oddly wasn't locked, but I ran at that door, hoping that if someone was out there, I'd knock them over and have time to get to the front desk. I got to the front desk, and this time the receptionist was there. I told him about everything that just happened, and he told me I sounded crazy. I told him about the call, and he said that never happens, and that whoever told me that does not work there. I went back to the room with the receptionist, and the man wasn't there. In fact, there was no sign of him at all. But I know it was real. I know it happened. I never saw that man again. Before I got married in 2018, I used to live with my parents on a street parallel to a neighbor who owned 4 beautiful cats. She was a divorced elderly woman living by herself. I was hired to house sit for her a few times and tend to her cats and yard, which wasn't hard work. It was actually a pleasant home. There was nothing off about it. One early evening, just as the last ray of sun peeked over the mountain, I was in the utility room down the hall. I was cleaning out litter boxes as usual when I heard those strange noises that cats make before they get into a fight. You know, that low meow that sounds almost guttural. I poked my head out, looked down the hall, and made sure they were not fighting. They were just standing on top of the typewriter desk, by the big bay window, looking into the backyard. I assumed they were being territorial towards another stray cat in the yard, so I cleaned the last box. When I finished, I walked out of the hall and into the sunroom where the desk was. The cats remained in fight mode, with puffed up fur and tails, widened eyes, quivering jaws, and they would hiss at the window. I could barely see out that window into her backyard, so I wondered what they were so upset about. What I saw next gave me absolute chills. This woman had an elm tree in the yard that was at least 15 feet tall. Beside that tree, there was a black, shrouded figure in a hood a foot shorter than the tree, moving back and forth. I went into fight mode, banged my fist on the window, and the cats pawed at the glass and made that weird meow noise again. The shadowy figure looked up, walked behind the tree trunk, and vanished. I got scrappy and grabbed a metal pipe, intending to beat the tar out of it in case it was a person, but it wasn't. I got to the tree and examined it, and there was no way it was a person. The tree was very tall, and the sun had gone down entirely by then. The yard was dead silent as I walked back to the house. The cats watched me come in again, now calm and sitting like little loaves of bread on the desk. That was the only time I ever saw them freak out like that. This is something my sister experienced several years ago. It's stuck in my mind ever since. My family has lived in the same house since I was born. I'm 22 years old. We know every single noise in the house, and we can tell who is coming up or down the stairs at any given time without even looking. My sister is 6 years older than me. My sister's room is at the top of the stairs, directly in front of the staircase. She always used to leave her bedroom door slightly ajar at night, so that my dad could say goodnight through the crack in the door. My dad has always been the last person to go upstairs to bed at night. And just like any other night, me, my sister, and my mother were all in bed. My dad was downstairs. Then my sister heard all the light switches being flicked downstairs, so she knew my dad was going to bed. She heard his footsteps coming up the stairs and stopping at her door. She said, as she always did, "Night, Dad." No answer. "Good night, Dad," she said again. No answer. Then my dad came up the stairs. She stands by this story to this day. The first set of footsteps didn't pass her room and go to another room, and they sounded exactly like my dad's footsteps. My dad confirmed that everyone else had gone upstairs at least half an hour before him. It was definitely none of us that had gone up just before him. We'll never have an answer to this, but it does still give me chills whenever my dad comes upstairs at night.